Elaine Lui is the vivacious voice behind LaneyGossip.com. She writes eye-rolly stuff about celebrities. She talks current affairs on TV and reveals her vulnerable side in her first book, Listen to the Squawking Chicken. And I say vulnerable side. True?
I would say that if I have any vulnerability, it would be with matters related to my mother.
And it's a love story of sorts, really.
It's straight up a love story. This book was written to honor my mother as a tribute to her, and selfishly as something for me to hold on to preserve, something tangible for one day perhaps when I won't be able to hear her squawking.
It makes us all want to call our mothers minds in the heavens, so can't, but it really does. Now, the grandchildren thing.
Let's get straight to it.
I don't know about the Western-Eastern differences,
Yeah.
but I know in the Western culture, your mother, my mother anyway, most of our mothers will say, I can't believe you're not having grandchildren, that I won't have a grandchild.
Right.
It's not right.
Right.
What happens in the Eastern culture,
In
or
the
with
Eastern,
you and the mom?
Most of the time in Chinese culture, yes, we're supposed to have, we're supposed to keep producing and especially have a child to carry on the name. Most of the time. My mother said to me, oh, I'm happy that you've decided not to have children because frankly, I don't want to take care of them. I already had to raise you. So I'm happy that you're not going to be, dropping a child onto me because frankly, I quite like, my freedom.
Well, she's so honest.
Yes.
I love that about her.
Yes.
She's direct, she's honest. You never wonder what she's thinking.
Never.
But she must say to you about those dogs. You have 2 beagles still?
Yes. I have 2 beagles. She thinks they're dirty. She thinks we live in a filthy home.
I know. At one point she said to you, before she hugs you, and I know she's not a big hugger.
Yes.
Don't get the dog hair on me.
No, exactly.
Like, get dog hair off before you hug me.
Yes, exactly. And when she comes over now that we've moved to Toronto, and she does come to the house, she has a key to the house, it's very, I can't sit here. Like, I can't sit here now because your dog hair is all over the place. So, it's, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I say to her, like, what do you want me to do? That's how they're natural shedders. But she takes it's very offensive.
Sure, get a hairless dog.
Right.
Why
just
not?
Replace my
replace
my
the lovely
beloved,
beagles.
yes.
Well, there are those hairless dogs.
They are. There are dogs that don't shed for sure.
They're a bit funny looking. But she's been judgmental about many former boyfriends.
Yes.
And the one girlfriend, was it Georgia?
Georgia.
She said, bad luck.
Yes, Georgia. She said to me, we talk about how boys and men or lovers can be bad for you. I don't know that we often talk about how certain friends can be toxic too. And she was able to recognize that in both, boyfriends that were bad for me and friends that were toxic. Or at least she thought they were bad for me, yeah.
And now that would make most kids mad.
Right?
If your parent says to you, you should not date this person.
Or your best friend sucks, right?
Yes. So we sneak out to see our best friend.
That's right.
And we sneak out to be with our boyfriend. Yes. And we defy. We
defy. And I certainly tried at times, but, her words and her premonitions, if you will, implanted themselves in my brain. And I feel like, it was a form of sabotage because eventually those relationships did unravel. And I can't figure out if they unraveled because she put that in my mind that person would eventually be toxic for me, or if that person really was just toxic.
And if she was that smart to figure it out before you figured it out, if mothers actually knew more.
And in her case, I believe that she does because she correctly predicted all the bad relationships.
But she did say to you, or I think she probably still says to you, it could have been your father, I think it was her, about you only need one true friend.
She says that. She says that always. That in life you only need one true friend. And when you're a teenager, you get into fight. Molly and I had a fight at school today, and then Jack and I had a fight at school today. I mean, kids are always sort of getting into little scraps and arguments, and she would always say that. Don't worry, you only need one true friend. And you don't get it at like 10 or 11 when you're just scrapping over your bike. But more and more, as I got older and relationships didn't work out, I wondered whether or not that was true. I have since decided it's not true, and it is the one area probably where I disagree most with my
Really,
mother.
the one area, well, also one true friend can die. And then you have no true friend.
Yes.
The more friends, the merrier.
I think so. And that's how I live. But I think it is my mother's greatest flaw is her inability to maintain meaningful friendships, because she's been betrayed so many times and disappointed so many times that she can't trust. And isn't that the backbone of any friendship?
Absolutely, and any relationship, really.
Yeah.
And she had, when she lived with, should we call him Uncle? Tell me that story, how that all came down.
Uncle was my stepfather. So my mother left my father when I was 6, between 6 and 7. She moved back to Hong Kong, and she remarried Uncle. And he was my stepfather for 10 years. Uncle pursued my mother for a long time, and she was that girl that you can't forget, right? Even though she went off and married somebody else, he always desired her. And she married him, and she thought, this is the man who'll look after me. You know, my dad couldn't step up and couldn't look after her. He disappointed her, and she thought, well, this guy who's waited for me for so long, who's looking after me, taking care of my daughter, financially supporting me, this guy is going to be the one who won't let me down.
Right.
And he did.
And he did, and he was a little older.
He was a little older. You know, my friend Tracy from The Social has something that she says all the time. The first time, marry for love. The second time, you know this one probably, marry for money.
No, you married 3 times. My friend's grand-mère said.
Okay.
My friend's grand-mère, and she lived in Cannes, and she was quite something. And she said you married 3 times.
Okay.
First time you marry for title.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, I mean, if you
marry
can
for
meet
money,
people with titles.
Because money will marry title.
Yes.
So you marry for title, and as you know, barons and counts are not necessarily rich anymore, but you marry for title, then you marry for money,
and then you marry for
and
love.
then third time you marry for love.
Look, the French know how to do it right, I
see?
guess.
You
But I
see?
mean, my mother's second time, she married for security, and it didn't work out.
And on it goes, and it's all wrapped in the book. So
It's
we
all
can't
wrapped
give
up in the
everything
book.
away. But she did teach you to say what you want to say, not worry about what other people think. Simply
Yes.
not. Now that's something you get to in your, I would say, late 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
Right.
When you really don't care.
Yeah.
But in your early years,
I think that in your early years, I mean, certainly for me, as she kept telling me in my early years, like, you know, you care too much about what people are saying. And my mother has never, though, cared what people think. And ironically, I'm now in a job where I'm the one on The Social who is probably saying the most provocative things at the risk of offending everyone, and which I do on a daily basis.
but you've always been fearless that way, which is why you work on The Social,
Right.
I think, because you can't be mincy.
No, you can't be mincy, but I think that you sometimes have to take an unpopular position.
Of course,
Yeah.
but not if you don't believe it.
No, of course.
Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
Not just to provoke.
Yes, just for kicks. No.
No, it has to come from the heart.
It has to be
and
organic.
You have to be willing to go where angels fear to tread. And if you're thinking it, and as you know, when you do TV, now that you're doing daily TV,
Yeah.
you do have to edit just a bit.
I edit for language, but I don't think I have edited for opinion.
Okay.
What they'll do is they'll edit. So let's not
they
talk
will.
about this because Lainey will say that and then we'll get into trouble. Yeah.
They do get to know you because we do have our positions. When your mother watches The Social, I'm assuming she does.
Every day. Twice.
Every day, and she texts you on her flip phone.
Yes.
And says what?
That dress makes you look fat. Stop yelling. You know, maybe not the hair anymore. Good job today. You look skinny today. The soup is working.
The soup is working. And then she sends the husband soup just in case. But you are the sociologist of gossip in this country, certainly.
I'm trying to crusade for gossip because I think that it has a place in our society that is much more important than people give it credit for. So I'll take that. I'll take the sociologist of gossip for sure.
But more important, why?
Why does it have a better? Well, you know what? I think gossip exposes and illuminates more about ourselves than most other topics.
Right, but where's the Laney line for you? If you hear about the Prime Minister dilly-dallying,
Right.
I'm not suggesting he is.
No, of course not.
Of course not. Or
any political candidates.
Or any political candidates, or the mayor, or
Sure.
a hockey star,
Well,
or
some
a
mayors
hockey
we can
goalie.
open. Some mayors.
Some mayors tell you themselves.
That's right.
Yes. Do you just not go there?
It depends. I call it sad smut, whatever that may be. And you know, and we've talked often over the years
Yes.
about what sad smut is for me. That's death. You know, but my line is perhaps more advanced than other people's line because I think that there's still a discussion there. When a child star turned movie hunk, you know, finds himself under a bridge suspiciously after having been in rehab. And his friends are saying he's fallen off the wagon, and it is sad what's happened to him. I still think it's a discussion worth having because we are still encouraging these young kids to go into a business that puts them in positions where they're incapable of handling their demons, and we're doing it over and over and over again.
And it's been that way for a long time. I love the story about the birthday, and everyone will have to buy the book. When it's, let me get this right, when it's your birthday, you buy your mother dinner and you pay cash
Yes.
because, and remembering it's your birthday.
Yes. On my birthday, I give my mother a gift and give her money and take her out for dinner and thank her for giving birth to me. And when it's her birthday, I give her money and give her a gift and thank her for being her.
Okay, and count the cash out at the dim sum restaurant so that all the friends know what a lavish and fabulous daughter you are.
Showing off.
Of
That's
course.
a way of honoring my mother.
Why not? I thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for writing this.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
reading it.
A sort of memoir. I think there's a sequel coming.
Oh.
Of just the Squawking Chicken squawks. Right? Just a little book. We'll carry it in the back pocket.
Thanks, Fanny.
Nice to see you. And coming up, Irish fiction phenom, the profane, witty, and wise Roddy Doyle. He brings some heartbreaking characters to life in his new novel, The Guts. His writing always makes you want to put on a bit of a crash helmet and swear more. His book's always a wild ride. He's sharp-tongued, and he's next.